How long did you have that planned for?
So long. So long.
Wait, what's this I hear? Do you hear what I hear?
Yeah.
I might swerve in that corner, whoa, whoa.
The rest of the song is just fine. That's really all I need. I just need the first 2 lines of the chorus. Just give me that on a loop, and I would prefer that personally. But it's very good.
The verses are pretty good.
The verses are very, very passable. On an NBA athlete level, they're incredible. On just like a general music, rap, hip hop level,
sure
they're
Lonzo
fine.
wrote the lyrics.
He wrote the song, yeah. You're
No,
right.
that's a misaccreditation on Spotify, you see. Dario Sarge girl, aka Let's Go 2000, tweeted out like, "Whoa, can't believe Lonzo wrote the lyrics," because he's credited as a lyricist. But then Lonzo tweeted, "The only thing I need to be credited for is the album art."
I mean, the album art is like, oh, this is
No, it looks like he made do
I
with
don't
what he
remember
was told
even
to
what
make.
it looked like.
How much credit do we give LiAngelo Ball for like single-handedly reviving World Star? Because I haven't.
That's a good point.
You don't see World. They are not in the zeitgeist anymore. We're 15 years removed from people walking up to a fight with their fucking Motorola Razr out, be World Star on some shit like that. That's not a thing anymore. So for World Star to make a comeback like this, I think LiAngelo Ball gets a lot of credit for that.
So my question is, I think that brings up a fascinating discussion. Why did World Star die?
Right. Oh,
Like
why did they die?
What was it? Because in theory, it's like everything's become more online. World Star was online culture for a while. It was like World Star had their hand in everything. Like there was a fight, everyone's screaming World Star.
Maybe it
like,
was
what
Vine.
happened?
Maybe it was collateral damage with the death of Vine and sort of the hangover of a lacking of short form content in that brief window of time.
I
They
feel
were
like
sort of peak relevance
To me,
around that
World Star always had the same vibes as TMZ. And like I feel like there's like a ickiness associated with that like probably soured people on them over time.
World Star kind of ended up falling into the trap of like reporting on like, oh, this OnlyFans model makes 2.5 million. They just post rage bait so that way everybody in the comments is like, fucking, oh, this bitch, this is horrible. Or they just post a bunch of like Fashion Nova like sponsored posts and shit like that, and then they just started focusing on shit that like they almost turned into like, it was like they started to try to be complex, like reporting on like news, but it was like that's not really what people wanted from World Star. And so I also don't know from a distribution perspective why did World Star get this? You know what I mean? Why wasn't this under the Triple B record label? Where's that at?
Didn't Big Baller Brand go bankrupt? Isn't that the 4th B?
No way. There's no way that happened.
It's dead.
Do you
Like,
guys
I was a
remember
little-
Dat
It
Piff?
doesn't say that they're. Oh yeah, yeah. No,
You guys-
I'm spreading misinformation. They did not go bankrupt.
Yeah, I didn't
Nick,
think so.
I'm a little surprised you never used Dat Piff. Wow.
Are you more of a LimeWire only type of guy?
Oh, there we go. No, I always just used like YouTube to MP3 converters.
This is a Dat Piff exclusive.
Is that a thing? No, it's a
Oh,
complete
yeah.
cultural blind spot for me.
Wow.
I have no idea.
It's just like
That's
where
like the only
mixtapes
way
are.
I listened to music in college. Or
In
not
col-
college, in
I was
high
gonna
school,
say, wait.
excuse me.
Oh,
It
oh,
like
it was
died by the
that
time
recent?
I guess in like a relative sense, yeah. It was when I was in high school.
I guess it was 10 years ago.
Like it was more like mixtape time when everything was like a mixtape.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I was just on SoundCloud then. That's where I don't know. I know that's not the same thing. I don't think
Right.
it's what you're saying, but just from I just think of mixtapes and growing up and because all the three of us grew up in the SoundCloud era, and how I don't know about the three of you guys, but I did have a SoundCloud, and I have in recent years moved all of it to private because I'm like, oh my god. But yeah,
As you should.
I'll be
Nature of
honest.
making things.
chill.
I'll be honest. I didn't listen to rap at all until I was like 22 years old. So I haven't been in I haven't been in those waters even a little bit. I was listening to Green Day in middle school. I wore a lot of flannels back then. That was my middle school attire.
Wearing some like cargo shorts.
No,
That's a
I've
tough
always-
sell.
I've always worn pants. I don't know why I don't like my legs being out around people.
We've talked about our knees way too much in this podcast, man. We do it all the time, low key.
What was that episode of South Park where dude's knees are like exploding?
Oh my god, this
Kids, it's a basketball.
Dude, Kyle got a.
He gets.
Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
he gets like
his race.
His race, right.
Which also included leg extensions and like.
Right.
I think they put his testicles for
in his knees,
his knee joint,
right.
And then they exploded.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Meanwhile, his dad got a dolphin plasty, became a dolphin.
Yeah.
Do plastic surgery.
Yeah.
Very good recall there, Jacob. Probably Randy's funniest moment on the show had to have been when he tried to get testicular cancer, right? Well, he succeeded getting testicular cancer.
Putting them in the microwave.
Soldier, yeah.
See, I never
Narrowing his balls to the dispensary.
I never watched South Park, so whenever people describe stuff from South Park, I'm like, this show just sounds absolutely insane.
Yeah.
It probably did a lot of damage to my brain that's like the primary content I was consuming between ages like 11 to 15.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me just watch the most fucked, vile shit you can find on TV.
Dude, and there's even something to be said about like, because the reason I bring up South Park specifically is because within the last like week, for the first time in years, I've been like, why don't I'm on the HBO, I'm like, why don't I throw on one episode of South Park? I can't believe how fucking funny it is.
I had a hang this weekend and we put on some classic South Park episodes. Yeah. We watched him feed Scott Tetherman's parents to him
with the chili.
The Casa Bonita episode where Cartman kidnaps Butters. What was the other one? The Warcraft was
Make Love Not Warcraft is what it's called. Yeah,
I think that's the best episode. We watched that. I played it in front of my girlfriend who had never seen South Park, and I was like, "Oh boy, this could go a lot of ways." She liked it, and I was like, "Thank God, it still holds up for the most part."
And it does. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah,
it is, and this could just be a blind spot for me.
Mm-hmm.
Is have a hang a common expression?
Have a hang?
Yeah, you had a hang.
You said you had a hang this weekend.
Yeah, I guess.
I've never.
I didn't want to call it a party because it was like 5 people. So that's just what came out of my mouth.
That's a party. 5 people in your mid-20s. Kickback. There you go.
Yeah, kickback. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I was just curious. It's something I've never heard before.
Mm-hmm.
Your nomenclature is always fascinating to me.
Great word, Alex. What constitutes a party? Is it the ingredients or the number of people?
I think there has to be a certain threshold of people. What amount it is dependent on a couple different factors. Like if you're in the middle of nowhere, 5 is a party.
5 in a garage.
I think it's substance plus people brackets over square footage.
You know what it is?
A Venn diagram.
It needs to be an amount of people that there can be more than one conversation happening. Like there's different people in different areas talking about shit. If it's everybody together, that's just a hang. Like if no one is like, we're going to go over here and talk about this, that's what makes it a party.
That's a great barometer. 5 people could give you that though. You know what?
But it didn't in this case.
You know what? To me is this is the most adult that I've ever felt in my life. I finally reached a point where I feel confident in my adulthood. Where we live now, we have a balcony. We actually have 2, but we have at least one balcony.
Full flex.
And in the winter, I get to use outside as a fridge. So instead of using fridge space for my beer, I just get to put it outside. And I don't know if any of you get to do some shit like that, but if we had people over, be like, "Oh, you want a beer?" And I go outside, like, what the fuck? There's beer outside. There is beer outside, actually, because
natural temperature,
Yep, adults can keep their beer outside, and
I don't
kids
live
can't.
in Chicago, so can't really pull that one off.
It gets cold where you guys are.
Not enough.
I think it's time that
not enough to do that consistently.
I think it's time that I tell our listeners where you and Rudy live.
What?
It's just about damn time.
It's about time you guys get doxxed on this podcast.
No. But on that same point, Alex, I've been thinking about this for like a week. What is the modern day ding dong ditching and egging someone's house? The only 2 things I could come up with were doxing and swatting.
Yeah, modern days are darker than when we were kids, apparently.
But what
it's so much more consequential.
those.
I just think kids are on. I don't think there is an equivalent. I think kids are on that damn phone now. No one's got time for egging or anything.
Doxing and swatting.
Yeah, I guess you swat a Twitch streamer on your phone now rather than throwing eggs at their house.
Rudy, what do we got for today's episode of the Shootaround?
This is
Unbelievably
an NBA
hot start.
Yeah, this is an NBA basketball podcast. It has been a while since our last podcast. About 3 weeks. We took a little bit of a hiatus for the holidays. There's been some trades. There's been fights. There's been judgment and redemption, injuries and returns from those injuries. But this is the shoot around. We are just putting up shots here. It's a relaxed podcast, chill NBA guys to relax game to ASMR, basketball highlights, Family Guy, funny moments, HD, no Zoom. That's the type of podcast this is. So I'm not really worried about covering the entirety of the last 3 weeks. I just wanted to kind of give us a couple of...
Can I say one thing real quick? I just need to tell you guys the story before I forget it.
Oh, yeah. No, by all means, we can get a story
And
time
this is
in.
basketball related, so even
better.
So, did you guys watch Thunder versus Celtics on NBA TV?
Thunder versus Celtics.
That nationally broadcast basketball game, Thunder Celtics on NBA TV.
One of
It's
the
on.
biggest regular season games of the season.
Yeah, it's on my list. I need to get to it. I haven't watched almost any basketball this year. I watched a bunch on Christmas, and that's kind of I needed to get my toes back in.
I'm watching this game, and I kid you not, third quarter starts, power goes out.
Oh,
Fortunately, we have a generator, external generator, so I had to set that up. When I stopped watching the game, the Thunder were down like 8 points, and I was like, they're not looking good. I don't think they're going to win. The Celtics were rolling. By the time I got the generator set up, got the power back on, I sit down, I turn the game on, it's over, and the Thunder had won.
yeah.
So I missed what was clearly an awesome ending of basketball of my favorite team. So that was awesome.
Against the defending champs.
Against the defending champs. So I just needed to vent a little bit. I was really pissed off about that.
No, I'm glad we could get that in. I'm sorry your power went out, Alex.
It's okay. It's back now.
We talked about it before the pod just a little bit, but there is no heat in this office building right now, so I feel like I sympathize with you on that. That's why I was so bundled up. But the heat man actually came by right before I pressed record, and I'm starting to get warm. So
The Heat Man
gets paid.
Heat man
tip
gets
him.
paid. So if you see me start to strip clothes, please mind it is just because I am warm and not because it is one of those podcasts. But like I said, a few point guards that we want to talk about today. It is a new year, and you know what that means.
New year, new me. Same me though. Happy New Year. Yeah.
First is Trae Young hit a 50-foot buzzer beater in a tied game to win it. Nick, I believe you are the one that really wanted to talk about Trae Young today more than the rest of us. Here's a little comic of the moment.
So for our audio-only listeners, Rudy just put a tweet up on the screen, and it says, Ice Trae was on fire, and it's a little comic book. This is a very visual gimmick, Rudy.
Right.
For the audio-only listeners, I don't even know how to... It's Trae hitting a shot from about 50 feet, which he did against the Utah Jazz to win the game, and then he's like, oh, fuck, my hand! Shit! It's on fire! And then in the very next panel, he's really, really cold. He's Ice Trae, and now he's cooling off. He's powering down. Yeah, I did want to talk about this a little bit, though. So Trae Young hits, again, a 50-foot game winner against the Utah Jazz. As of we're taping this, happened about a day ago. And it's seemingly one moment after another with not just Trae Young, but this Atlanta Hawks team this year that is kind of, at least in the circles I'm in, people are kind of stopping. They're scratching their heads, and they're checking out what's going on in Atlanta. Because it used to be that you turned on an Atlanta Hawks game. I'm not doing the Tucker thing, but it used to be that you turned on an Atlanta Hawks game, and you would go, not this fucking guy, and people would tweet the picture of the sucker, and they would be like, oh, people thought you were going to be Steph Curry, and and people have, you know what I mean? People have just always hated this guy, but now he's cool. What happened? Is it just that the Hawks are, but it's not that I'm asking you guys to try to explain it to me in a way that I can explain and understand it. What has changed with Trae Young that the cultural temperature on him is warming up?
I think the beard helped.
You're right.
The beard
It has to-
helped.
yeah.
DeJounte Murray leaving helped.
Oh,
I think
right.
the team is more determined by Trae than it was before. It's kind of more the Trae show than it has been the past 2 years, which is just, the more enjoyable or prolific, anyways, version of him. So I think that's a big part of it. But the beard helps. Having your beard connect really makes a big difference in a man's life. And I've seen him, he does the classic, the little bit of chin hair and the mustache that everyone does when they can't grow a beard. But when he walked into this season with it fully connecting, I was like, uh-oh, something different in the water. Needs to shave his head. I don't know how that's going to go, but it needs to happen. It will. I just can't imagine what the fuck he would actually look like, because he has like this youthful presence to me. Maybe it's because his last name is literally Young, but like seeing him bald and bearded will just be almost off-putting, but at the same time, probably cool as fuck and make it seem more mature. I don't know.
I'm trying to think of if he changed his last name to like geriatric or senile, and then also took like an Ocho Cinco route where he just changes his fucking name, and now he's Quattro Geriatric for the win. I don't know. It's cool. I'm losing. I do not have either of you guys with me on
I
this.
don't know
joke.
where you're going with that.
Alex, go ahead. What's going on with Trae Young?
I just think like he's always leaned into like the villain role or whatever, with like, we got the iconic stuff in New York. Even this season he did some of that. And I think like when you're doing that and DeJounte Murray's over there stinking it up next to you, it's like all that stuff kind of becomes less endearing because your team's bad. But now the Hawks are like, winning cures all, and like it's always going to be, you can look at a player differently when their team is winning. I think for a lot of people, the Hawks are like, I get they're like one game above 500, but they're not bad. They're not bad basketball. Hold on.
Yeah.
They're not a bad basketball team. And I think there's an easier time being had by a lot of people when it comes to appreciating Trae Young. And like, also when you tune into a Hawks game, you're not just watching and like living and dying by watching Trae Young. You also have Jalen Johnson there, who's like, he's a human highlight reel in his own right. And so you get to live with like, yeah, Trae's going to miss 5 threes in the first half, but at least you have Jalen Johnson who's going to do a bunch of cool stuff too. So like you got these, it's been 2 years of watching DeJounte and Trae have bad nights next to each other. And now we don't have to do that anymore. It's like we can just enjoy Trae Young because he gets to be Trae Young again.
The Hawks were tedious before, like a tedious watch. They're not a tedious watch anymore. I have 2 takes. First of all, the one game over 500, I think the big thing is who they're beating. They've been consistently beating teams they've been punching way above their weight class consistently. So that's resulted in them like having some of the better games and, more up the forefront games of the year. I know they beat the Cavs. I might be crazy. Did they beat them twice? I could be making that up entirely.
I don't know.
But either way, I know they beat the Cavs, and that's not an easy thing to do. It's only happened 4 times. And the other take is Jalen Johnson not just what the Hawks hoped John Collins would be.
Whoa.
I don't know if John Collins ever had the point forwardness that Jalen Johnson has.
But I think the thing with John Collins there was, he's a great rim runner, obviously. He's got a little bit of like one-on-one scoring bag.
He could kind of
displayed
post up
a little bit of a jumper. So it's like, okay, this guy's got some more stuff to his game, but they clearly wanted him to be more versatile than he actually was. They wanted him to be actually a shooter and not just kind of, where I feel like Jalen Johnson, in all of the areas where John Collins disappointed, Jalen Johnson is doing all of those things now.
Yeah, he's like as good as John Collins was at the things John Collins was good at, while also being
Yeah.
good at all of the things Jalen Johnson is good at. And it turns out that's like an all-star player. Like, I think Jalen Johnson's an all-star caliber player.
Yeah.
So Rudy's got it up on the screen for us. They did beat Cleveland twice.
Back to back.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Not
crazy.
on a back-to-back, but back-to-back.
Yeah, between 2 games and 3 nights, and they beat the Cavs twice. A little home and home action. You guys want to give me 5 minutes on Dyson Daniels? I just love him. Just want to hear nice things about him.
He plays great defense. Stock champion for real.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mostly steals, but I think he still averages like 1 block a game as a guard, which is pretty great.
I actually was so I did an Asar Thompson video, shameless plug. Go watch it after this episode.
We're going to talk about that later. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I made a graph. You guys know I love my graphs. So I made a graph, and this graph was deflections per 36 minutes. And sometimes when you adjust stuff to per 36 minutes, it gets a little noisy. Like sometimes you have really low minute guys flying up there, and it's like Taco Fall is averaging 50 points and 20 rebounds in per 36 minutes, like weird stuff like that. And I guess it's just a testament to how good Dyson Daniels is. But like, even when you adjusted things per 36 minutes and set like a minimum 250 minutes played this season filter, Dyson Daniels was still number 1 in deflections per 36 by far. Like, I think second place was Alex Caruso, and he wasn't even close. So, I don't know. He's just great, man. Like, to have your hand, I think, like, if you played basketball before, you understand how difficult it is to be so active on defense and like literally have your hand in everything. Not only just like the skill that requires, but the energy that requires. For Dyson Daniels to go out there for, every single night and do what he does on the defensive end while still also putting up 13 points per game on offense, like that's hard to do. That's really, 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 really hard to do. He rocks. He rocks.
The other thing is it's hard not to, fucking gamble all the time to get to those numbers. Like usually if you get a guy who's like that high up in steals, it's like, okay, this guy's probably blowing assignments constantly because he's trying to get steals, but that's just not the case with him. And he's bringing the defensive energy that they hoped they would get out of DeJounte Murray without getting him wanting to take, 15 shots a game. So it's like all the positive, none of the negative, way cheaper, way simpler. It's just way better across the board.
Did you guys see the thing at this point? I think this happened while we were on break a couple weeks ago. You see the thing where he was like, yeah, New Orleans is cursed. He's like, I kept getting hurt when I was in New Orleans. Everybody gets hurt when they're in New Orleans. What do you guys think? Is New Orleans cursed?
Here's the thing. All great curses have a reason. For the Chicago Cubs, it was the curse of the Billy Goat, correct?
Uh-huh.
So
well, that's the Lions, I think.
The Lions? Oh. Well, someone has a curse. The curse of the Billy Goat's like the big thing.
Yeah,
and like there's always a good story. So I guess my question with the Pelicans being cursed is like, why? Why would they be? Is it because Utah has the name the Jazz, even though New Orleans should definitely be the New Orleans Jazz, and Utah should be like the Soakers
Utah
or something
Mormons?
like that? I don't know. I guess my question is, what's the
Yeti.
story? Yeah, the Yeti. Sure.
I think maybe it was the Pelicans rebrand. Maybe I think that might have been when they were doomed, when they chose a fucking Pelican. It's like I think literally their aesthetics are just so shit that they're cursed to be a good team. You can't be a good team with jerseys that ugly.
Well, also
doesn't
I
work.
understand. I also understand that the king cake baby is a cultural staple of New Orleans, but it's terrifying. I'm sorry. Like, it's
Fucking
scary
shoot
to look
that
at.
thing. What the hell?
I'm scared of it. So I don't know. That's
you
probably part of the curse.
Rudy, will you make a timestamp to bleep this out? I'm still going to say it, though. Do you think...
Also, just real quick, I want to shout out, we're talking about Dyson Daniels defensively, and we're kind of looking at Jalen Johnson in more of an offensive light. Jalen Johnson's a great defender.
We brought up the curses thing. If it's all right for us to retract back to that for a second, I was researching the Clippers before this. A lot of people have apparently theorized that the reason the Clippers are cursed is because they were originally the Buffalo Braves and the Braves is like a racialized Native American term. Like it's a Native American characterization into a mascot type beat. Not that there aren't other franchises that have done that and have still been fine since then. Like I know the Philadelphia 76ers were the Philadelphia Warriors with a Native American as their logo. I think I knew this at one point and I forgot. But Bob McAdoo, Moses Malone, and Adrian Dantley were all on the Buffalo Braves at the same exact time. Before those three players, there's 4 MVPs, like a dozen All-NBA first-team selections, and like 5 scoring titles. And like I think Moses Malone got the rebounding title like 8 times. Like they had all 3 of those players on the same roster, traded all of them for no reason and for nothing in the same season. It was like, you've cursed your franchise eternally. You're just going to keep making this same mistake over and over and over again from here on. How many
teams did Adrian Dantley play for? Like 100?
He played for the Lakers, the Jazz, the Braves,
the Pistons.
He did play for the Pistons. I think he played for someone else.
You want to chip with us?
Did he? I thought he got traded before that.
No, we traded. We traded for him to win no, you might be right on the timeline. I think I am.
No, they traded him in 1988. So yeah, right before.
We traded him to get
Guy from Dallas.
Aguirre. It was Mark Aguirre. It was so that's what I was thinking of, because they went 1 and 2, I think, in their respective draft. I think that was the order. So we shipped him because Dantley was a diva, and so we got Mark Aguirre.
No, Adrian Dantley was the Carmelo Anthony of his time. Sure. Like buckets, but baggage and not much else.
Yeah. So I don't really remember how we got here, but to wrap things up with Trae Young, Rudy's got a little thing up on the screen for us. I'm assuming this is just this season. They've played more than 1 game together, but if we're comparing Trae Young and Steph Curry, advantage goes to Cade for the points and for the rebounds, not for the assists, though. Damn, Trae's averaging 12 assists.
Did I not hear you say Steph Curry?
I did hear
Steph Curry. I'm sorry, did I say Steph Curry?
Just like Freudian slip.
I get he's been a good 3-point shooter this year.
Oh, I didn't even clock. Thank you for check. I didn't even hear that. So who did I say him for? Trae?
Yeah, for Cade.
Oh, that would have been even.
I think you did the Trae Steph thing.
That is definitely what I did. But anyways, this is important to highlight here. What is that? So Cade's shooting 37% from 3, and Trae Young's only shooting 34%?
Trae has historically been like that. That's kind of just how Trae rolls, is he shoots 35%, but he just takes a dozen.
It's a volume thing.
Night. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And he almost takes exclusively pull-ups as well. So it's like that 34 is a little bit different than if he just took some catch and shoots. But fucking Cade's been killing it as an off-the-dribble shooter too.
Yeah, and he's been using his body a lot more this year, which has just been such a delight to see, because it's like you are a lot of dude, and the fact that you frequently don't use that is really annoying to me. But this year, he's like looking for contact, and when he doesn't get that contact, he barks at Stripes. He's like, "Hey, Stripes, can I get a fucking whistle?" And they're like, "Shut up. Try that on for size. One size fits all. Shut up, Cade Cunningham." And he just never gets a fucking whistle, so that's been annoying. A take I have about the Pistons, I'd love to get the panel's thoughts on this. I don't think they should trade anybody on the team. I think they should stay pat. No matter how the season goes, I think they should stay exactly the same. I'm
coming in because I texted you about this. I texted
you. Did. Let me get the take out, and then you can say your piece. My thing is that the Pistons have been looking for culture and identity for over 5 years now. And we've officially established that through a quarter of 1 season with a new coach. We've also officially realized, as has the zeitgeist, that Cade Cunningham is actually really fucking good. And so I don't think that the first thing that we should do when you establish the aforementioned continuity is see what else is out there and see what bigger fish we can get with all our little fish that are finally playing well together. So Rudy texted me the other day and said, what?
I said, what's the bare minimum package you're willing to give up for Jimmy Butler? Because the Pistons are basically the only team that can just absorb the cap space, help out that way. The money makes everything so complicated with Jimmy Butler that I'm just like kind of half tongue-in-cheek being like, seems like Jimmy Butler to the Pistons is inevitable just because of the cap flexibility. So like giving up Tobias Harris and what other piece did I text you? Because it was
Hardaway?
Tobias and Tim Hardaway, even swap. Who says no, you know?
I think Detroit does, and so that's what my original text to you was going to be, was the only way that I would be fine with trading for Jimmy is if it was like just contracts, right? I'm not giving them any capital for him, and I'm also not doing Miami a fucking favor. So the other piece of it is kind of like what I just said, where I don't want to give up Tobias. I don't want to give up Hardaway. I think Hardaway or like Isaiah Stewart, if we get like 2 firsts for Malik Beasley, who knows what would happen with him? He's been insane this year. But Tobias, here's my favorite thing about Tobias Harris, is there will be any game that he logs at least 20 minutes, there will be a 5 possession span where 3 of those possessions is him clapping for the ball, getting it dumped to him in the low post, dribbling the air out of the ball, and doing a little bullshit turnaround, and it's going to brick. It's going to look like it's going to go in every single time, but it's going to brick. But I still love him for it. It doesn't bother me because he's just such a good presence to have on the floor. So I don't think anybody on this team should get traded because I don't think there's anybody that makes us better than what we currently have. Because I don't think this is a year that we need to really fucking go for it. Just like see what you have. And then after the season, look back, reflect, reassess, and then go get something. But let's have one good season.
Let me tap in here. I think the injury to Jaden Ivey changes that a little bit. I think that's a big piece to lose. Even if you don't believe that Ivy was like that key of a contributor, maybe you think his stats were a little bit empty. One way or the other, that's 17 points a game on good efficiency that you no longer have. Moreover, you said like little fish for big fish. It doesn't need to be like that. It doesn't need to be major move. But like literally just swapping out different little fish can make a big difference. And like Tim Hardaway Jr. is the number one guy where I'm like, if you can upgrade, do it.
Sure.
Go for that. Tobias Harris also, sure, if you wanted to move him, whatever. But like I agree they don't need to do anything that drastic, but with Ivy gone, I wouldn't be surprised if the offense got a little bit more difficult, especially with Cade off of the floor, and a little bit more punch in that area would be nice. But yeah, that's all I have. I wouldn't go for a swing for the fences trade, but I also wouldn't be like so paranoid that it's like if we trade Tim Hardaway Jr., the entire thing will collapse. I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, no, I don't mean it like that. And to give you credit, I actually I admittedly forgot that Jaden Ivey snapped his fucking leg because Cole Anthony needs to be in jail for the rest of his life. I did forget that happened as I was saying.
I
agree with
you
you
the
there.
Podcast where you were like, oh, he's playing the Magic. He's playing good right now. It's like,
Yeah. And like, as I was saying that in real time was when he was snapping his leg.
Also, I do need to say, I fucking hate the idea of Jimmy Butler. Do not do that. Even if it was just a contract swap, don't do it. Even a little bit.
Mean on the Pistons? Because all we heard was you hate the idea of Jimmy Butler. And I was like, just as an abstraction, as conceptually, you just fucking hate Jimmy Butler. Oh, okay.
No. On the Pistons, don't do that. Just don't.
Okay, so if you're doing the Jaden Ivey thing and you want to go get somebody else to supplement those minutes and those points on that efficiency, I'm just spitballing here. Devin Booker? I'm just throwing names out there.
So you just went from we shouldn't make any moves to what if we just went and got Book real quick?
Well, my thing is like I've said it 100,000 times. I don't need to keep doing the thing.
No, you've said it enough that it's my headcanon now that the next team Devin Booker will play for is the Detroit Pistons.
It's going to fucking happen.
I hope it does.
We're playing Phoenix, I don't know, a week or two ago. Devin Booker out, not playing in the game. Dog, he was wearing a Tigers hat on the bench. Mm-hmm. He wants to come home so fucking bad. Alex, you and I were both glued to our TVs on Sunday night watching that Vikings-Lions game. I can tell you for motherfucking sure that Devin Booker, unless they had a game, I guess, that Devin Booker would have been doing the exact same thing, pulling for his Detroit Lions. So
he's a Detroit guy. I genuinely didn't know that.
He's from the Mitten.
Yeah, he's the idea of him and Cade together is just really fun. I just like it a lot.
I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
He's kind of stinky this year, though.
Yeah,
He's good. Devin Booker's good. He'll
Lower
be fine.
Buy low. Buy low.
Lower trade value. Buy low on him.
Buy low.
Exactly.
Matt Ishbia got himself into this mess, and he can crawl his way out of it. But we will take Devin Booker for the cheap. You can have a one-legged Jaden Ivey and stuff.
One-legged.
Maybe.
No, I think that makes sense. I think you have the assets to make it happen if you really want to. If you really want it. You just gotta. Unfortunately, the way of the NBA right now is if you want a star of that caliber, you're going to have to make a big swing and be ready to deal with the consequences if it doesn't work out. Because it's going to be multiple picks. And, like, if you're the Pistons, giving up multiple draft picks when you know you don't make the playoffs historically is a little scary. But I think Booker's the right guy to do that. Especially, it would shore up that you keep Cade longer term. It's like, yeah, we got you your guy. Let's worry about building something even bigger than this now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we have him under contract for 5-6 more years. So I get what you mean, though, because dudes can still be like, I don't want to fucking play here anymore. Whatever. Alex, you put out a video on Asar. I got really excited. What was the title of it?
Asar Thompson is the is the weirdest player in the NBA.
Weirdest player. Yeah. What were your takeaways from that? From that video, that research process?
Well, like, it's just I really love these players that, and there's only two in the NBA. It's Amen Thompson and Asar Thompson, who, like, they're very flawed players in traditional ways of, like, viewing basketball. Like, you can't shoot, and, like, I think we're just very much programmed right now into, like, shooting being a prohibitive skill in the NBA, and I think with all the discussion around shooting, like three-pointers this, three-pointers that, are we taking too many threes, blah, blah, blah. I think these kinds of players are going to be where a lot of people find appeal, like the Amen Thompsons and the Asar Thompsons, where it's like they're not going to shoot, and you don't really want them to shoot for now. You know, we can have the discussion about developing a jumper, which neither here nor there for now. These guys are transcending, like, the need to shoot. And normally we talk about, can you get away with being a forward, a power forward, or a small forward? Can you get away with being one of these guys without shooting? Well, if the answer is yes, how do you counteract that? You counteract that by physicality. You counteract that by sheer athleticism, being faster than the guys in front of you. So you're talking about, okay, let's say Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren are running a pick and roll, and you've got Asar Thompson in the corner, and Asar's defender helps off of him. Cade sees that. He hits the corner pass to Asar. Asar gets the ball, and he's got this space. He's got, we'll say, 6 feet of space between him and his defender. He's on the three-point line with the ball. The defense knows he's not going to shoot it. He's not going to shoot it. And if he does, it's got a 20% chance of going in. But that's half the battle, because the defense is sitting there thinking, we want you to take this shot because it's a bad shot for you. But he's not going to take that shot. He's going to barrel to the basket with a full head of steam. And, you talk about like an Aaron Gordon, where Aaron Gordon has some ball skill, but he's more of a brute. Aaron Gordon's very physical. He's more of a brute force. Asar Thompson is also a brute force, but he is a fascinatingly good athlete, and he can handle the ball like a point guard. He has insane ball skill. He has insane footwork. He has crafty finishing ability, and guess what? He can jump 3 feet higher than anybody else on the floor at any given time. So it's like, yeah, defenses are going to help off of him, but they're really hoping he takes a three, because they do not want to deal with defending him attacking off the catch, stampeding off the catch, going to the basket with a full head of steam flying through the air at them, because he's going to finish it. He's shooting like 73% at the rim this year. He's going to finish it.
Yeah, and it's giving him the space to really get the momentum of his jump. Like I can wind this thing up, and then, like, I think what will be key for them, arguably more than developing a 3-point shot, would be being a good free throw shooter. because you know if you're going to be barreling to the rim all the time, ideally you shoot better than 41% at the line, because then they're just going to be like, we're just going to hack the fuck out of them.
Oh yeah, Jesus, that's awful.
Yeah, his
horrible.
brother Amen is shooting 70-ish%, so there's some hope there. He's more of a scorer between the two of them, but I think it matters a lot. I think basically you can get away with one non-floor spacer, and if you make that your forward, you can be like, all right, well, let's just get a 5 that can shoot. Not the easiest thing to find in the world, but it is becoming increasingly
Lori
easier.
Marketing.
Yeah, that's an idea. But I just think him and his brother, they're too athletic. They are some of the most impressive athletes I have ever seen on an NBA court. It's actually mind-boggling, the shit that they do all the time. Amen Thompson, like, probably top 3 most fun I've had watching a player this year is Amen Thompson. His brother's cool too. I haven't played him much, or I haven't played him at all. I haven't seen him much.
Did you see that thug Tyler Hero try to put hands on a man?
Dude, he got fucking ragdolled.
Tried to get in his ass. Not
It
the
was
Thompson
embarrassing.
twins. Yeah.
Yeah.
How much did he get fined for that?
I
man?
don't know.
I think it
Probably
was a lot.
wouldn't have been more than 100. Hey,
Well, I don't know, because
I'm pretty sure 100K is the most.
Isn't that the max fine?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's
No,
the
Of course
most.
it's
Rajon
not more than
Rondo-
100K.
I don't want Rudy to have to bleep another thing, but Rajon Rondo got fined $115,000 one time for calling a ref something not nice. And then Anthony Edwards got fined $100,000 for saying, I don't want to play fucking overtime, which he was right about, by the way. He just got his shit off. He just swore too much. And that was it. And speaking of Anthony
That
Edwards,
one was whack to me. Let him say that.
him saying,
Who cares?
oh, you're saying the fine was whack. For
yeah,
sure.
let him say that. Who gives a fuck?
For sure. And then well, I'm sorry. I was going to say, since we're on Anthony Edwards, the other thing that he's kind of in the news for recently is also while we were over break, he had the comment about, like,
Double
I
teams.
fucking don't double me. Like, don't double me. I don't have fun playing this way. I don't want to do this. And people are killing him for that. What do you
All
guys
right,
think?
here's my big takeaway about that. And he's been cooking lately, so it seems like he's right back on course. But the number one thing that I got from that, everyone focused on the, like, complaining about double teams as though he was like, come on, guys, stop doubling me, other NBA teams. That's really rude of you. I think what he was talking about is how the roster construction is fundamentally different this year, which is causing him to be doubled way more often. And the subtext of what he was saying was criticizing that, not these teams for doubling him. I think Ant recognizes that teams are going to double him, but it's happening way more this year because Julius Randle isn't Karl Anthony Towns.
So
Well,
I
and
just
Jaden McDaniels is
That too, but I'm pretty sure he was kind of stinky last year too, at least as offensively.
I just thought it was real.
Yeah.
Like, it was one thing when Book said it in an open run, and everybody was like, his thing was, you can't double team in an open run. We don't need to go back.
To me, that's way more reasonable. I'm trying to practice more or less.
Really? I think it's the.
You're
I
in
don't,
the NBA.
Yeah, for sure,
The
I
NBA
guess.
it's a bigger thing. Like I understand being like, I'm trying to work on my one-on-one game, not how I'm dealing with double
Yeah.
teams right now. We're
Well,
just
I'm not
shooting around.
I'm not saying, like, it's cool to, like, say that it's stupid and it shouldn't happen. I'm just saying, like, to me, it's very real to be like, fuck, I hate when I can't just go out there and score 100 points the way that I'm used to do it. That's kind of the way that I took it. He wasn't, like, criticizing it as a practice. He's more just acknowledging it as, like, a, God damn, this sucks and is annoying. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I just think the subtext was criticizing his own team without actually saying that.
Played a game against Detroit where he had 53, Kate had 40, and the Timberwolves lost by like 100. The Timberwolves were like never in that game. Like, it wasn't even close.
Yeah. That shit was wild.
But Anthony Edwards this year, Alex, what do you got?
Listen, I think there's a lot of different ways you can look at it, because I think developmentally there's been some good takeaways for Anthony Edwards. Like, there is no, like, you can have some issues with whether it's conducive to team success right now, different discussion. I think, him doing the 3-point shooting thing this year is a byproduct of, it's necessity. He has to do it because the spacing sucks right now. And there's a lot of different factors going into that. But I think there is no denying, like, he's having one of the best 3-point shooting seasons in modern NBA. Like, I think Steph Curry has had a better season. Damian Lillard has had better 3-point shooting. Steph Curry has had obviously tons of better seasons 3-point shooting wise. Damian Lillard has had better 3-point shooting seasons, probably Klay Thompson. But other than that, there's really not a ton of guys who have had or are having better 3-point shooting seasons than Anthony Edwards is having right now. So I do think that is something that, like, you walk away from this season, you're like, yeah, you'd like him to be driving more, but how much can he realistically be driving with the kind of system that they're running right now? So that's one thing that I'm like, okay, this is fun to see him develop this, but it's like, I think Anthony Edwards likes to play a more diverse game than he's able to play right now. Mm-hmm. I think the double teaming thing is happening because he's taking so many threes, and they know, like, he's going to come off a screen and he's going to kill us if we give him that space. So they're like, we're going to hard hedge, we're going to trap, we're going to blitz you, and we're going to make you pass. And that's the smart thing to do from a defensive perspective, because one, you don't want him getting that 3-point shot because he's really dang good at him. And two, he's admittedly not the best passer in the world when you double team him. He's either making the pass one pass away, or he's at a highly at risk of turning it over, trying to make that pass to the short roll. It's a pass he's generally not particularly adept at making. So I think in some ways he's getting reps facing these coverages. That's a good thing. The team isn't very good. That's not a good thing. But I think ultimately the Timberwolves know all of this. This is all, I guess, whether or not you're happy about it, it's baked into what you signed up for. You knew this is how it was going to be when you got Julius Randle, when you gave Jaden McDaniels that ton of money. You knew Jaden McDaniels, there was a chance he wasn't going to be able to step up and be more of a scorer like you hoped he would. You knew Julius Randle was going to be potentially a clunky fit. He's a flawed player. He's very good at some things, pretty bad at some others, really bad at some other things. And with Anthony Edwards, you know what Anthony Edwards wants to do. And I think if you're the Timberwolves right now, you're sitting here looking at all this and you're saying, we want to make sure that we're getting the most out of Anthony Edwards. And I think the problem right now is they definitely aren't.
I hate Julius Randle.
Oh, wait.
I hate him.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Hold on. Weren't you one of the people 3 months ago who was in the camp of, like...
No.
I swear you were. People who were like...
I was.
It was just you?
I definitely did this could work out just to cover my bases. I'm not basketball Nostradamus, so maybe I'm wrong. But I think I gave the Timberwolves like a C- on the trade. Didn't like it at all. And I specifically said the Timberwolves last year were one of the most fun teams that I've watched in a long time. I fucking loved watching that team. And I know for a fact that Julius Randle will ruin the viewing experience for me. I didn't realize how much it would fuck with them actually on the floor, because Julius is still a good player. But I am at a point with fit when people go, ignore the fit, just look at the talent. No, I'm not doing that. I don't think that logic works, because the other top rosters in the league have talent and it fits. There is no compromise in those categories for the best teams in the league. And the Timberwolves were trying to be one of the best teams in the league, and they can't just go, we'll figure it out with Julius Randle, because it doesn't work. So my hope is that they will find a trade and get his ass off of this team, because I think they are worse with him. Like, I don't know what the lineup data would tell you, but I would say they're probably fucking better with Naz Reid at the power forward position. So I hate Julius Randle. I didn't like him on the Knicks. And I especially hate him for ruining this team that I enjoyed so much. So yeah, fuck Julius Randle is my take.
Did you
So
guys?
I think. Sorry, Nick, you go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was gonna totally go ahead, brother.
I don't know if you can blame just entirely blame Julius Randle. And I understand what you're saying, and I think Julius Randle plays a big part in this. But let's look at the facts, okay? Mike Conley's old.
That doesn't help.
He dang near gets played off the floor whenever he sees the floor, because I love Mike Conley to death. I'm always going to love Mike Conley, and he still does some things very well. But now we're at the point where we're questioning whether the things that he does well outweighs the things that he can't do anymore. Mm-hmm. That's factor number one. Factor number two, Jaden McDaniels, he should give Julius Randle half his contract, because Jaden McDaniels has been shielded from a lot of criticism because of Julius Randle's bad defensive play and clunky offensive fit. Because I tell you this, Jaden McDaniels shooting 32, 33% from three isn't going to cut it when they're looking at him as like that third option. And then outside of that, you've got like the Rob Dillingham of it all. They're not even exploring what Rob Dillingham can do. It's like there's a lot more going wrong with this team right now than just Julius Randle. Mm-hmm. And I agree with the things that you said, but I think the Timberwolves have problems that are far more multifaceted than just Julius Randle stinks. Step one of fixing the problems is probably trading Julius Randle, but that's I don't want to say it's a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. It's like getting a bunch of gauze and putting it in a bullet wound and like trying to stop the bleeding. It's like it's a good step, but you got to get to the hospittal quick.
Yeah,
Okay.
It didn't work for Giovanni Ribisi in Saving Private Ryan when he died screaming for his mother when they were trying to capture a bunker. Jacob, what were you going to say?
Jaden McDaniels, the negative of the Jaden McDaniels offensive regression, which you could argue he just realistically just had a bad or a good shooting year once, and this is really the player that he always has been. But I think that is significantly better. It's not nearly as much of a problem if he isn't playing next to Julius Randle and he's just like, obviously it'd be great if he shot the three ball well, but I don't think that's the expectation for him at this point. And if it was him at the four and a three who just shoots the ball really well rather than Julius Randle, the negative of his floor spacing, like the negative of Randall's floor spacing and the negative of McDaniel's floor spacing compounds on each other, and it makes both of them worse.
Jacob, what do you think Julius Randle is shooting from three this season?
I don't doubt that it's okay. But I also
personally, my opinion is Julius Randle's spacing hasn't been a big problem. I mean, he's not a great three-point shooter. He's like 36%, but I don't know if he's the reason their spacing is bad.
But what percentage of those are fucking open is my thing. Like, they are not.
I get what you're. Listen, I'm saying just like in a vacuum.
Fearful of his three ball at all. I don't think I don't think an NBA team cares if Julius Randle hits a three on them. And
I think they're helping
like
off of other. I think they are helping off of other guys before they're helping off of Julius Randle.
Sure. But again, I'm telling you, McDaniel's at the four, floor spacer at the three, way better equation. Or he's at the three, floor spacer at the four, like a legitimate spacer, whether that's Dante DiVincenzo. I don't know what Naz Reid is shooting this year. He can be a little up and down. But like, the source of the double teams is that they're confident that they can throw two to the ball on Anthony Edwards, and they're not going to get a look that they're afraid to give up. Whether it's a Julius Randle three or a McDaniels three, whatever. They accept that far more than they accept Anthony Edwards dunking on their head.
Yeah, but when they're sending that double team, it's not coming off of Julius Randle. It's coming off of whoever the screener's defender.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
because they know he's not going to make that short roll pass.
Right. Well, it definitely isn't helping But what I'm saying is we had a model with the Timberwolves that worked before, when they had a historic floor spacer out of the power forward spot, and then they swapped it for this guy who's primarily an interior presence, who I think just kind of sucks. I really don't think Julius Randle is that good, truthfully.
Well, I think you and I are saying the same. We're doing the thing where we're saying the same thing and
classic.
acting like we're arguing.
Hey, speaking of some former Minnesota Timberwolves, D'Angelo Russell got traded again while we were gone. Maybe we could wrap up on this. So he's back home. And I say back home because I think when we're 10 years removed from D'Angelo Russell's career, I think we will look back at Brooklyn being the place. Even though by the end, when it's all said and done, he'll probably have spent more time between the two stints in Los Angeles. Brooklyn feels like the place where we all kind of were like, all right, I like the maybe.
It was
the
his all-star year.
Exactly, right. So good for him, I think, is where I'm at with that. I just wanted to throw this out there.
That's like the only time that I liked watching D'Angelo Russell at any point in his career. I enjoyed him on the Nets that year. Also, the alternate jerseys that the Nets had that year, all-timers. I fucking loved their alternate jerseys that year.
They had I know what one's the Bed-Stuy, I think is what it said on them. Is that the ones you're thinking of? Yeah, and then they had
those were great.
When
I was at a point where I was like, just make that your color scheme or your aesthetic. Just do that. Just make that what your jerseys are.
What was the artist's name for the clean sweep team? The Basquiat's, I think is what those were. Yeah. Ooh, those were nasty. But what I wanted to say was, all right, so D'Angelo Russell probably won't finish his career with the Brooklyn Nets. Maybe for a third stint he will. I just wanted to shoot my shot on this at some point in the next 6 years while we're wrapping in the door of his career. That kid's a Raptor. D'Angelo Russell will play for the Raptors at some point.
You think Masai's making the call for D'Angelo Russell no matter what happens?
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't think that's the type of player the Raptors really go for.
I could see it as like a salary move, but I don't really know.
So I see what's happening
here.
here.
About D'Angelo Russell's contract.
I see what's happening here. I see where the wires are getting crossed. You guys are thinking about it from Masai Ujiri's perspective. I'm thinking about it through the lens of what would he look like in every single uniform in the NBA. I assess, and I look at the Raptors, and I say D'Angelo Russell will be a Raptor at some point in his career. What, is he going to be a fucking Orlando Magic, you freak? No, he's probably going to the Raptors.
Check out this.
Yeah, there are teams that I'm like, I will never see D'Angelo Russell play for these teams.
Exactly.
It's just, but there are others like the Raptors where it's like, yeah, I can see that.
He's flirted with being a Chicago Bull so many times.
I could see
every time. No, man, every time I've been like, fuck, please, no D'Angelo Russell.
I could never see D'Lo in a Pistons jersey, in a Grizzlies jersey, in a Clippers jersey, a Blazers jersey. I could see him in a Washington jersey.
That's a Washington player.
Oh, that's a fucking wizard. That's a capital
Imagine
W
Jordan
italicized
Poole,
underline.
Kyle Kuzma, D'Angelo Russell. It's just
it's like the team full of players who have way too prominent of a fan base for the quality of player they are.
Yeah. Well,
D'Lo has stands, dude.
Yes, why am I fighting for my life saying D'Angelo Russell isn't very good? It's just true. I'm so sorry you guys like his aura, but I'm not just running on that alone.
You look at his similarity score on Basketball Reference. We got Bob Sura at the top, then Patty Mills and Chris Duhon. So apparently D'Angelo Russell, when you look at some magic numbers, is actually just a glorified backup point guard. So,
I think there's also something to be said about his first stint in Brooklyn and maybe why it was so refreshing to see him play as well as he was because it was also off the heels of the Nick Young thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people have already it's 10 years ago at this point. At the time, that was a big deal. People were like, oh,
it was a huge fucking deal. That was everything anyone talked about.
Exactly. And so for him to get that fresh start that he needed, do you guys even remember? This would have happened when he was still on the Lakers. But it was like a year after that happened. Foot Locker is doing a thing for like their back to school shopping or whatever. And they do a feature with whoever would have, I think it was maybe Wiggins was a rookie at the time. And there was a commercial where like Andrew Wiggins is like, getting like rookie advice from all the big dogs, from all the vets. And there was one where like his phone starts ringing and D'Angelo Russell takes the phone and throws it out the window. He's like, "You're not going to need that. Trust me." And that was the commercial. And I was like, that's really funny. And this was, again, immediately after it happened. So I was like, good for him for having a sense of humor about it. Sorry to Nick Young for having his marriage destroyed, but he's probably going to do that by himself anyways. So.
Right. I think that's on him at the end of the day. I want to know. I wish I was a fly on the wall when that was pitched. Was that surely D'Lo wasn't like, "Oh, this would be a great bit, guys. Do you want to do this for the commercial?" Like someone wrote that and was like, "Hey, D'Lo, are you cool joking about this?"
They probably Foot Locker reaches out to his management, and then they float some ideas by him, and by whoever his representative was, and then they through the grapevine. His agent was like, "Yeah, D'Lo would be, he's actually a really laid back guy. Maybe he would be kind of cool with that." That's a good question, though. It's a good question. It's also maybe worth pointing out, going a layer deeper on this whole thing. Haven't really heard from Iggy Azalea since all that shit happened. So did D'Angelo Russell destroy Iggy Azalea's career? People are asking.
I think that was
did
the
that herself.
natural lifespan of her career to begin with.
I think
I
the
don't
Tire
think there's
Marks
a version of
freestyle did that,
history where
frankly.
we're like, Iggy Azalea is the biggest pop star in the world in 2025.
Tire
That
Marks.
wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, nobody on this podcast thought that 10 years ago. Nobody did.
Doesn't she have a child with Playboy Cardi?
That sounds like it might be right.
Sure,
That guy's
you
an
know?
enigma to me. Like
I'm pretty sure they have a child together.
they might. Yeah, that guy's like a Roblox rapper to me.
Let's take a look at these this D'Angelo Russell Foot Locker ad.
Yo, Carl, nice gear. Foot Locker?
No doubt.
So any advice now that I've been drafted?
Getting drafted doesn't mean a thing. Now the real work starts. This isn't college. This is a grown man's league. Tell him, Devin.
That's right.
I have become
Nothing comes easy anymore.
Anything else I should know, D'Angelo?
Got a phone? Trust me.
Yeah,
Gear.
there you go.
It's really
Foot Locker?
good. It's real.
It's a
and
pretty
really
good ad.
Yeah.
It's also funny the implication that it's just like, well, if I just didn't have a phone, no problems. I guess technically it works out that way, but I think the issue to examine there goes beyond just having a phone.
Alex couldn't take the ad. He had to dip out of the stream for a
He
moment.
straight up left. He's laughing so hard at that commercial.
You tried to pull up that video, and my computer was like, "Nope," just completely tapped out.
It's just a malware. It's just Rudy just putting malware on our fucking computers. Be like, let's all watch this video. Let's all watch this video. Hey, look at this funny video I found. It just
Yes.
fucking steals all
I
of our
am
sensitive
now
information.
keylogging all of your computers.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Man,
Speaking of just saying nope, we are in the 69th or now the 70th minute of this podcast, and we try to keep it around an hour here. And I want to end the show with a baby announcement. I tried to do it last podcast, but it came off wrong, so I cut it. But you may have noticed, dear listener or viewer or other form of shoot-around intaker, that I was not very present in this episode, other than my behind-the-camera antics and controlling the mysterious fourth screen with a little screen recording on it. That is because that is how I want to do the show now. I want to take a step back from being on camera as much. It is a bit that has gone on way too long. I've dug myself in way too deep. I realized the best way out was to politely ask my friends here to take my torch, my proverbial torch, as the only host of the podcast, and make me the only one who's not a host of the podcast. I just always got to be different, to compensate for whatever it is that I have to compensate for. But yeah, this is how it's going to be. I'm going to be behind the camera, not on camera, only buzzing in with my opinion as I see fit, which could be never. Who knows? This could be the last time anyone ever sees me ever again on camera on the shoot-around. Not really, but hey, with that being said, new year, new me. Fellas, any last words other than LaMelo Ball?
I started from the bottom, just